in the formerly restive Niger Delta?
I like what the federal government. I think the federal government is we're seeing a shift towards renewable sources of energy. I think the federal released the Renewable Energy Action Plan, which aims to scale up renewable sources by, I think, about 31%. Its contribution, renewable energy source contribution to total energy generated to about 31%. So that is very good. That is very good news. And the case for solar energy and hydropower energy is becoming more compelling. Like you said, gas shortages is a very big problem in Nigeria. The Niger Delta is still not resolved. So, in order not to us to be captive to gas and other fossil fuels, I think we should shift. We should increase our contribution of renewable sources of energy.
We need gas, but again, in the middle of the entire, I don't want to use the word mess that we are, as far as the power sector is concerned. The news also on the street that the last administrations, at least between 1999 to date,
yes.
if that the newspaper, the media reports all about that SERAP, the social economic rights project folks says, look, we've wasted about 11 trillion
yes.
naira. The word used there was that it was wasted or whatever. I'm not too sure if I'm comfortable with the word, that qualification of wasted, but some folks believe that is so. What do you think?
I think 11 trillion naira, that's a bit, one has to check those figures, but it can be fair. You can say 11 trillion naira if you count millions of naira wasted to corruption and other unnecessary activities. You can say, and it's a very big problem for Nigeria. What if, imagine the amount of investment that, if proper investment comes to that sector, that would, with corruption and all these money wastages, investors are not compelled to bring their money in.
The key, the underlying part of that report is that we've got 11 trillion, we have little or nothing to show for it.
Yes.
That's a fair assessment.
It is. Really,
it's fair.
It is really, and it's a very big mess. If we put this into context now, the average Ghanaian consumes about 3 times more energy than the average Nigerian. South Africa, 31 times more times than the average Nigerian. Our population trumps Ghana and South Africa almost twofold. So something is going wrong here, and something is really amiss here.
Okay, and then there was a report from FBN Quest yesterday that says if we get full electricity and well distributed, that could add 2% to our GDP.
Yes, indeed.
I think 2% is
even too conservative, in my opinion.
I couldn't believe it. I was looking at what I read that correctly. That it said 2% to the GDP. That's a drop in the ocean.
I think much higher. If more power is supplied to the remote areas, the villages, the east and the north, one can imagine the amount of productivity, the amount of economic activity that would contribute to, that would boost. And
so 2% looks like a drop. It's just a drop in the ocean.
Yes.
We think we should do more. We can do more than 2%.
Yes. If the power sector is solved, then Nigeria will be a very booming economy. I think Nigeria will be the place to be, the investment destination for everybody.
You folks, you and your team at FDC, almost on a daily basis, get market reactions to some of these issues, try to track market prices when it comes to what is trending, how much you and I, or people on the street,
yes.
everyone pay when they go to the supermarket or do some roadside, whatever it is, street purchases of consumer goods. Do you think if we're able to move things over, how much of significant cutback in costs do you think we could see money back in the pockets of Nigerians?
I don't really understand the question. Can you?
If we fix electricity, so we're looking at GDP.
Yes.
But if a price of bread is about 400 naira today,
yes.
If we get electricity right, what do you think is a fair price for a loaf of bread? Let's take it personal.
I think if you if you add all the inputs, it should be much lower, because I think consumer prices are still very high. I think February used the excuse of exchange rates. April used the excuse of seasonality effects. Now, this is the harvest season, but consumer prices are still high.
So there's no excuse?
Yes. The burden is operating costs. Power contributes a lot to all these companies.
Are we locked into this a bit of a vicious cycle?
It is.
Because I always ask the question. We have something to blame at every point in time. There's always something to blame. So we blame Godwin Emefiele and the central bank for the FX.
Yes.
Then we blame Buhari's team for not knowing what they're doing, perhaps they're slow or whatever. And then we blame the season. Then we blame... we just blame everything.
That's the excuse. It's like you said, it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. So we need to break this. But if we fix electricity, that will perhaps break the gas, the glass ceiling, isn't it? Yes, that's the terminology. Thank you so much for coming. Dimo Kwesa from Financial Derivatives Company. We appreciate that. That's the electricity conversation. But of course, the conversation as far as the markets continue. But let's remind you, we're getting our viewers around here and around the world, of course, they're commenting on this plan by the Nigerian government to refinance and restructure the country's domestic debt. As far as the treasury bills side of it is concerned, we have trillions of naira all loaded up in treasury bills that are issued almost on a daily basis. Of course, we've seen more aggressive treasury bills auctioned by the central bank since last year, when, of course, we're pumping more money into the economy, trying to spend our way out of recession. But, of course, we're paying heavily in terms of the cost, average about 18%. So the government says they're going to try and put all of that money as they mature in treasury bills. They're going to roll them into dollar notes for over a 3-year period. The estimate by the finance minister is around $3 billion. And that means you just add $3 billion to Nigeria's existing foreign debt portfolio. For those of you who are keeping account of how much Nigeria is owing, just add $3 billion to that now and fast track it for the next 3 years. That takes us to the year 2020, isn't it? Thereabout. Yes, so that's okay. So you can have an idea how much we'll be owing by then. But of course, we'll come back to the banking sector after the break. There are 5 Tier 1 banks in Nigeria: Access, FBNH, GT Bank, UBA, and Zenith. So we're taking a look at this new report from Quadros Capital, if we can bank on these banks and take a look at what their earnings are saying vis-a-vis their market price. That's something, a conversation you don't want to miss after the break.